Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi for the introduction. It's a humble opportunity to be here to share some wisdom from my past experience. I'll trying to keep it short, but I'm really open to having question answers at the end as well. Excuse my voice, I have a, a bit of a cough as well. So, a bit about myself, I've actually been in the entrepreneurial space for roughly around more than 8 to 9 years. That not only includes my own personal journey, but also working for other corporations and doing entrepreneurial related work. Um, I'm based in from Toronto, Canada, but I belong to this humble land. But mashallah, I'm coming back after 20 years. So it's an honor to be back. SubhanAllah, everything is changed. I don't recognize any of the streets. So it's an honor to be back, to give back to the society, to give back to the people that I grew up with. So alhamdulillah, it's an honor to be here. So I look forward to working with many of you in the future on ventures, projects. Please be by on myself. I'm happy to help. So the focus on today's conversation will be mostly about how do we strive as a leader in turbulence during this entrepreneurial journey. We all know it's a tough journey. It's not easy. It requires a lot of dedication and passion. And there's a lot of failures that will come in the way. And I think as an entrepreneur, you really have to embrace the idea of failure. And I think failure comes from, doing things that were not, as part of the plan. And when failure happens, you take that as an opportunity of growth, an opportunity of strength, an opportunity to actually fix and evolve and iterate, is what they say in the corporate world of agile development. And that's important, right? And I think we always fall back in failure. But when failure happens, the one thing we should always keep in mind is Almighty who's overlooking us, and anything's possible. So you take that as a learning, as a growth opportunity. You see a lot of success. I've had my own personal success, and having belief in that one Lord will always guide you and take you to the right path. So that's the leadership. I think is a trait that everybody's learning from your cradle to your grave. I think nobody's ever a perfect leader. We have examples from Zakariyya, and many others. So I think it really kind of is a place that we have to consistently keep working with. So I'll share some examples. I'll share how do we really work on that. I think one of the quote I would like to share here is empathy is the greatest asset as a leader and as an entrepreneur. So I think that's one of the things that we should always keep in mind. And I'll go into different examples, use cases as I go into my presentation. So when we talk about turbulence, I think one of the things we need to really understand what turbulence really means is that what is the disturbance that's happening in the system that we're currently in. So for example, turbulence really comes from the airline industry. When your plane is traveling at 30,000 feet above ground, the pilot will say, please buckle up, or please tie up your belts, because we're going through some turbulence. What's that mean? What that really means is that it's causing some disturbances in the path of the aircraft as you're managing your way through clouds, right? And the pilot is trying to descend, ascend as he's working through the turbulence. It's usually a short amount of time. Sometimes turbulence can last 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or longer, or it could be small intervals of turbulence. For example, turbulence, some of the characteristics that distinguish turbulences from other critical situations are its large and uncontrollable scale, because we don't know the velocity and the fluctuation of how the turbulence will happen. As a result, I really wanted to use that reference point to describe this journey. Its cascading effects and unclear pattern of evolution leading to a chaotic situation. So really, we have to really manage the uncertain pattern of turbulence. And I really like the analogy of of an aircraft, because sometimes the pilot will have to descend from 30,000 feet above ground to about 25. So if he's descended, probably climb back up, right? So it's really uncertain. It is commonly accepted that today's organizations in both public and private sectors operate in an increasingly volatile, uncertain, ambiguous, complex environment. And a short form for that is the VUCA world. And we see that in today's time, today's world, whether it be in the entrepreneurial space or in the corporate space or in the business space that we're into. And I think accepting that as how we see the world, how we see business, how we see entrepreneurship is really important. That we are in a volatile situation, we are in an uncertain environment, we are in a complex world, especially with COVID, Corona, and we're in a post phase of COVID right now. It's so uncertain. You know, we don't know what will happen tomorrow. Yet in times of turbulence, the situation quickly deteriorates and becomes explosive. We want to prevent it from getting to that point. Full of conflicts, insecurities, unpredictabilities, and people involved can become polarized and unreasonable. So that's also really important to know from a business standpoint, is that when you're going through turbulence in life, you know, you will come across many uncertainties. You will come across many conflicts. You will come across people that become polarized to one area versus another area, or one individual over another individual. It's all unreasonable. This leads to irrational demands, irrational solutions that makes no sense from a logical perspective. And leaders have to face strong and relentless opposition that could escalate conflict to the next level. So what that really means is that basically a leader in that situation, in a turbulent environment, things can become explosive. People will be faced with really strong criticism, and you are in a relentless pursuit to tackle that. And how do you deal with that? How do you tackle that? Is sort of what we really need to focus on. And how do we de-escalate instead of escalating a situation in this turbulent environment? So I would like to sort of give an example, a real life example, and I wanted to sort of share examples from my past. Is I started off my startup right after university. Actually, my last year of university is when I really started my startup. And the idea here was I was doing clinical-based research in a hospital setting with patients diagnosed with Crohn's and colitis. Essentially, it's a disease of the gastrointestinal system where, you know, you have to consistently go to the bathroom. It's stress-induced. It could be food-induced as well. So working in that research environment, I was coming across many patients that had this sort of issue, and they were battling it, especially younger people who were just finishing university, were starting a new life, or were getting into university, starting freshman year, and you know, they were just concerned that their colleagues and individuals, friends, will lead a normal life, whereas they had to prevent themselves from going to gatherings, prevent themselves from hanging out with family, prevent themselves from just, you know, having a normal life because they were suffering from the disease, and that wasn't quite the pain they were involved in. As a result of this identification and realization, it came to me that I really wanted to help these people and realize and see if I can provide a solution to them. So after looking at the data, and data is key, and looking at the patient population, I came up with a solution with my business partner, who was actually my lab assistant, was helping me with my experiments in the lab with patients with the study. Said, why don't we create a mobile application to help people find the nearest bathroom? Because when you have to go, you really got to go, and you cannot just wait to get to your house or your relative's house. So as a result, we came up with an application called the Go Here application. It means go here immediately because you need to use the facility immediately. So that became an evolution of really solving for a niche problem with patients with Crohn's and colitis, but it helped a population of more than 200,000 people. So if you look at the data, that really shows that just a small mobile application was helping a patient population to really find the nearest bathroom facility. And what we were doing is, the idea here was not only have bathroom facilities in restaurants or coffee shops or cafes, but in offices, government offices, where people can readily use the restroom facility as they need it. And essentially, subhanAllah, what happened was that from there, it actually scaled. We started off small in Toronto, and it scaled nationally throughout Canada. And alhamdulillah, what happened was the government of Canada endorsed it and said, any government building, you can come and use our bathroom facility. And what we did was we started including a QR code and just a label card on the app, where when you go into a facility, all you have to do is show the app saying, I am diagnosed with Crohn's and colitis. Please let me use the facility. So it's a medical condition. It really gave a small 2-line about what the medical condition is. And not many people know what the medical condition is. And they're like, oh, okay, suffering from issue with stomach, needs to use the bathroom. And anybody reading that will understand that they will allow them to go use the bathroom. So that really empowered and allowed people not only to learn about the disease, but also allowed them, the normal person, like, oh, really? I'm curious to learn what it is. And people start Googling it. They'll start learning about it, the average person. So what happened was we not only created a technology solution, but also allowed the shop owners, the individuals running a small coffee shop or chai shop to say, no, yeah, we didn't know about it. Of course, absolutely. Please use your facility and actually give us ratings as well. So what that was is on the flip side, businesses were saying, please give us ratings that you were able to use our facility. And it was clean, it was hygienic. Would that actually also increase, traffic to that facility, whether it be coffee shop, office building, chai shop, whatever? So I feel in the long overall perspective, as an entrepreneur, you don't really want to just focus on, you want to focus on the need, the key problem at hand. But as you evolve, as you scale, you tend to solve and identify small little niches that are solving problems. We not only were educating the shop owners, the shopkeepers, we were also allowing them to have better ratings. We're saying Zakariyya's chai shop allowed me to use the bathroom facility, and I also bought a chai for $2, which actually helped the person's revenue go up, and the customer service was great. Beautiful. 2 lines, the person's rating in Google also went up. The person suffering from the disease was able to use the bathroom facility, comment on it, and it brought some small amount of revenue for the shop owner. So as a result, as an entrepreneur, you not only tackled the bigger, softer problem of identifying the nearest bathroom facility through GPS mapping, but it helped grow other people's businesses. A bit about the software. It will geolocate where you are. So let's say, for example, you're going to it right now, and it will identify the nearest bathroom facility in about 5 to 7 kilometer radius. Usually, when you have to go to the facility bathroom, you cannot wait that long. Let's be quite honest. You need to go immediately. So what we did was, based on research and data, we decreased the radius. We said we need to find the bathroom in about 1 to 2 kilometers or less, because when somebody needs to go, they can't wait to jump in a car, an auto, to get to 5 kilometers. With today's traffic, I don't think it will be possible, right? So that was also something we considered, because traffic, walking distance, and we use the Google API integration. So Google will tell you immediately where you are, pinpoint the next location, and it will take you there. The other thing we also did was we were empowering shop owners to also have rating systems. So what we did was, we realized something called the star system, where they can rate them on different stars. So the foundation, Crohn's and Colitis Canada, would give them a small reward at the end of the month, because they would know from the data that was collected is how frequently was this coffee shop utilized by this application. So they'll send them a small gift card or something. Oh, it's called Crohn's and colitis. So it is a gastrointestinal disease called Crohn's and colitis. I'll type it in the chat. So essentially what it does is, I'm not a physician or an MD. Essentially what it does, it affects your gut system, your stomach, which causes an individual to consistently visit the bathroom, be in the bathroom for long periods of time, because the gastrointestinal system is not accepting the food that the person is eating. And as a result, it can cause many other gastrointestinal related situations, as we know, diarrhea and all that stuff for that individual. And it is faced by many individuals, not only in the US, Canada, but globally actually as well. And there's many medications that people have to take for the rest of their life to tackle that. So that's the disease that we tackle. So that's a real life example. So now I would actually really quickly touch base on some of my personal sort of challenges that I had while doing this. And I'll get into some strategies after. Is one, I did not have a software background. Two, I did not have a team to tackle this resource. And three, we were really brand new to it. And this is a risk factor that we took to tackle this. Belief that you can do something for the greater good is really important, and belief that you can tackle this pain point is really important, and also focus is really important. So, alhamdulillah, we were able to start up a team in India, half in India, half in Pakistan, because we thought we need to really optimize where can we find the best resources available at that time. And at that point, I have not been introduced by anyone, so I had to really gather resources on my own. So online postings of jobs, interviewing individuals, because as an entrepreneur, you're really meeting people for the first time, and you want to make sure you bring the best people, the right people for the job. So lots of challenges came in the way where there was a high turnaround of people, where people would do the job of a back-end developer and then they would leave. And I would have to chase them to get me the back-end code, or I have to chase them to get the design files, and funding individuals across the border from Canada, and figuring out how do I best pay them and how do I best get the best work from them. These are all challenges as an entrepreneur that you face. You don't have time to go hire an HR person. You don't have time to go do the marketing. You don't have resources to go do development. So what I did was, one of the things as an entrepreneur is self-learned teaching is actually valuable. YouTube and reading and Google was my resource to actually learn how to do design and architectural diagram. So I really learned how to do architectural diagramming using Figma, using Sigma applications to draw the actual technological stack of what my application would look like, both for iOS and Android. And getting certified in Amazon AWS was also something I wanted to do, because we were hosting the application on Amazon AWS, and we thought that would be the best way to scale and integrate our services on that platform. We didn't have resources or the funding to actually go hire and introduce these specialists. That's one of the challenges we have to marketing, my other partner claimed that he had good marketing experience, but we were not able to sort of get the right amount of customers, the names of different shops that we had included in our database. All that had to be marketed so that we can get not only customers to use the application, but also customers that can allow people to use their backend facilities. All of this was a 1 or 2 man job, and it's sleepless nights, because if you burn one fire, you're on to the next fire, you're on to the next fire. And we only had limited amount of capacity, limited amount of funding. So on average, and I'll share the value of the total cost that we were given to implement this was only about 35 to 40,000 Canadian dollars. That is nothing. That's nothing in general to make an application to run. And so minute, because if you take into consideration the hourly rate, you'll burn through that 30 to 40,000 in about 2 months' time. That's it. Right? And then what are you going to do next? You want to have a finished product. So managing the budget, managing precisely, and that's what we had to really leverage resources and individuals outside of Canada, because if we could not afford that price tag, and we would run out of that budget in 1 month. So as a result, we went abroad and to hired a team in India, hired a team in Pakistan. I even went to Russia. I did not go to Russia, but I actually had interviews and individuals that were interested in working on our team in Russia, because they have good development skills and whatnot. But alhamdulillah, I think after all those were really resources and experiences for me, but now I know where to look when I need the right resources. I can look in my own backyard. I can look down the street. I don't have to go and find individuals in Russia or other parts of the world. But that was all part of the experience as an entrepreneur. Nobody told me this is the golden rule book to actually go find your resources, find your team members, and get it done. Experiences make you stronger, failures make you stronger. Make you stronger to find out where to go, where not to go. I'm just going to take a 1 minute break to just have some water. So that's one example of the application. You can go ahead and share. I'll share the link of the application. It's called here. So it's on the Android store. It's on the iOS store. It's fully available. It's a website available. Everything I talked about is available. Inshallah, I'll type it in the chat after, and I'll share the link as well. And I'll share the link of the foundation. I'll share the link of the application as well. So, folks will go check it out as well. So this is, alhamdulillah, it basically had coverage from Vancouver in Canada to the West Coast. That means covering end to end of the country in terms of marketing, and that's something that came from hard work and the blessings of the Almighty to give us this sort of exposure. I don't take credit for the marketing because the foundation, mashallah, was so powerful that they said, not to worry, we will handle everything in terms of end-to-end marketing and scaling and bringing the government on board too. So now, if you go to any government building, they'll have a sticker that says, you can use our bathroom without any issues. All you have to do is show the app. That's it. They show the app to security. Okay, looks good. Please use the bathroom facility. Alhamdulillah, that actually became powerful. And I think there's something that we can learn from that and we can implement in our future projects. But I'd like to go dive deeper into now that the crux and the meat of things. And this will be really some, please take notes, happy to answer your question. So I named it as the who, the what, the where, and the impact factor as an entrepreneur. So when you're an entrepreneur, your focus is to get the best clients, make large revenues, and strategize to outsmart the competition. MashaAllah, we have a lot of competition in our countries, in our streets, in our neighborhoods. How do we capture the audience? How do we find the right product market fit? How do we grow as an entrepreneur to really focus to deliver value to that niche? Is it like, say, for example, are we focusing on an age group of 18 to 35? Are we focusing on an age group of 35 to 45? We really need to identify those markets. Then only we can really provide the service, the product for those customers, right? So that we are competitive from the competition down the road, from the competition down the street, right? We really need to start there. Getting revenue, getting the best clients, and increasing your sales comes later. That's afterwards. That should not be our focus. How do we make it big? That should not be the focus at all right now. When you are in a leadership position as an owner or an operator of a business, you're doing everything like that of an entrepreneur. Just two more things get added to the list, impacting lives, taking care of your team members, right? So when you're an entrepreneur, like I said, I was not only taking care of my team members, that money that we were making, that smart amount of time, I had to make sure that I can optimize and bring some back for my family as well. So you can only imagine how thin your budget is to make sure that you are not only taking your team members abroad, locally, family as well. And that's and making sure that you're making small impacts in each of these people's lives. When you're in a leadership position, when you're leading an organization, your focus shifts from things to the people you're working with and for, right? Your focus completely changes. You start making decisions that can possibly leave a positive impact on your customers and the team members likewise. So you're making your customers happy, but your team members are suffering. You're treating your team members really bad. You're not paying them. You're not giving them the wages. You're not providing food for them. You're not giving them what they need. But your customers are happy. Then there's no impact. Right? So I think one thing one has to remember is that, in your mamalat of people that you're working with, you have to make sure that your customers and team members are also in our books, in our plans as well, right? So I think it's really important to keep that in mind. And then also your family members as well that are also happy. So these are all factors where you're causing and creating positive impacts. This is how the who, what, where I wanted to talk about. I wanted to go into some of the strategies now of really being that leader in this turbulent time. How are we managing our behaviors or characteristics in this turbulent time as we're managing this? Businesses are running down the stairs. I've got stress at home. I've got vendors coming and calling me. I got to pay suppliers. I got to develop an application. I got contractors on me. How do I manage that? Stay focused. Stay focused. Stay focused. And I say this with the bottom of my heart because without focus, and if you're an entrepreneur, you're pulled in many different directions. He's calling you. Your family's calling you. Your vendors are calling you. Prioritization and focus is really important. So one thing I did was I used to take time to say, okay, I would dedicate a 1 hour bucket for just this task, right? I would say, family, please, if it's not urgent, do not call me because I have to work with some vendors. I have to figure out the right pricing. I have to figure out the right cost, the right raw materials, whether it be in IT sector, whether I'm going and picking up, where I'm going and talking to the Azure reps, whether I'm going and talking to the Amazon reps. People ask kind of understanding what is the best stack that they'll give you, what is the best sort of resource they'll give you, or I'm going and buying raw materials for my product, right? Where am I buying it from? Where am I negotiating? I need that time and focus, right? I like to have things in an Excel sheet for myself because for me, it gives me a nice picture overall. When you're also staying focused, you want to also make sure you're researching the right resources, right? You're getting quotes from one developer, you're getting quotes from another developer, you're comparing it. Then you also want to, if you say that both of these developers are great for your team, but you don't have the budget to fulfill and pay their hourly wage, you want to bring them together in one room and say, okay, let's distribute the task among ourselves. That if you're both a full stack developer, you know, why don't you take the Android side and you take the iOS side, but we'll come together to strategize how do we best develop this application, how do we best optimize this, right? Because you feel that these two members will be of value to you. While we have to be flexible and willing to pivot, it doesn't mean we have to give up our core values and our vision. Our core values of our religion, our core values of our ethics, our core values of where we come from our families, should not be sacrificed. Always keep that in mind. Our vision should be there, right? By flexible, while you have to be flexible, you should not compromise your core values. You should not compromise your core ethics. And core ethics, regardless of the religious values, religious don't compromise that. Don't give up your religion, your values for something that will benefit you monetarily. Because in the long run, that's not good for your health and your income as well. So, and be ready to pivot. Be ready to say, you know what, this customer base is not working out. This customer population is not working out. By pivoting, it's terminology where you're able to be nimble, you're able to move and say, you know what, let's relocate to figure out if we can find more market there, if we can find more customers there, or if we can find a bigger age group there, right? So be flexible. If you're gonna be rigid and say, I don't want to pivot, I want to just stay here, then it will not work. Because as an owner, as an entrepreneur, pivoting is important and being flexible is important. In situations of high turbulence, survival cannot and should not be taken for granted. No. This life we have should not be taken for granted. We don't know what will happen tomorrow or when we walk out. So don't take things for granted in life. This is also something that we see in our values, in our ethics, in our religious upbringing as well. Don't take a single thing for granted. So in times of turbulence as well, don't take things for granted. It's important. In times of crisis, right? In times of situation, leadership is about making hard decisions, doing the unexpected, and sometimes it's seemingly impossible. Even in the face of opposition, you're getting opposition from your customers, you're getting opposition from your vendors, you're getting opposition from your family, you're getting opposition from your leaders. How do you best deal with that in a really non-volatile, and how do you decrease that stress at a time of stress? How do you make those hard decisions? And a leader cannot just say, okay, I'm going to sit back and let my subordinates do those. And I think there's many examples from, our locals, from the Nizam's side, from our prophetic things, from our Sahaba's side, from other individuals in corporate cultures as well. Not to pinpoint a certain leader. I think we can pick many leaders who have done well for society without taking part, without being stressed from the opposition, without being becoming volatile or losing their cool, what they say in corporate terminology. Do not lose your cool, right? Don't go crazy with all these hard decisions that are coming at you. So I think being patient, having something, is really a good quality of what a leader should be in helping you make those hard decisions. In an environment of high turbulence, and this is important, please take note of this. Emotional resistance, and they call it in English, is called espite corp, are critical among the leadership team. So whereas we're in a method right now, we're in a gathering as a leader, how do we gather and how do we provide that emotional coefficient, what they say in corporate terminology, still with another individual? We're getting resistance from our opposition, we're getting resistance from our people, but how do we work with them emotionally? It's really important as a leader. One of the things that is utilized in the corporate terminology is the emotional coefficient is far more valuable than the intellectual coefficient. You could be the smartest person in the room, you have the PhD in that particular field, but that person does not have the emotional coefficient to deal with opposition or to deal with that individual, then you don't really know how to become a leader. I think that's one of the things that we notice in our cultures, in our people, in our individuals, is that there's a lack of emotional coefficient, right? How do I deal with an individual across the street, across from me, in coming to their level of thinking and approach, right? And understanding how can I work with this person to get the job done, to help this person go forward, to help my product get sold to the next market. I need to go to another market. I need to go to Bangalore to get my market sold, get my product sold. How can I work with this vendor? He's giving me opposition. He's not letting me come into his territory. That's important. You could be the smartest MBA in the room, but if you don't have the emotional resistance coefficient, that is not helpful. So it's really important to have that as a skill set among the leadership. Deciding on information boundaries between the public and private spheres can be detrimental to your success. So really knowing what the public is saying, really understanding what the private sphere is saying, is really important. When you cannot anticipate everything or even anything, you should trust your instincts. Stick to your beliefs and stand by your values. This is the takeaway home message. If I can tell anybody anything right now, and this is sort of resonates with our religious values, right? This is something that we believe in. Stick to what your gut says. Stick to what and trust your instincts. If your instincts is in our religious values, of belief in the one God that we have, stick to your beliefs and stand on your values. Your success will come. Right? So I think it's really interesting where when I was doing my research for this presentation, these sort of strategies were aligning with what my religious belief is, right? Where I come from and where I feel valuable. So it really makes sense we are blessed with the religious values we are given. So I think if we go back to our teachings and go back to and trusting where we come from, a lot of the answers really lie there at the end of the day. We don't need a corporate MBA or a corporate Ivy League business school degree to understand how we best manage it. But these are good to know, how we can see resemblances between what our religious values are and what our strategies corporately are. So stick to your beliefs, stand by your values in terms of high turbulence for the survival. I'd like to go forward actually in this draft that I found in a paper that was published by Penna and Main, a leader's role in times of turbulence. So in a high risk, high stakes, high insecure environment, the focus shifts to what really is important. The role the leader plays should be one of stability. He or she, and I like to really point out both genders, because there's a lot of thoughts learned from our female leaders as well. Should be aware of what is going on, how the situation is developing on the ground, and be ready to intervene only in case of problems. I think we love to intervene in every single situation at hand. So as a leader, you would only intervene in what is important, what is valuable, and what is impactful. And a way to understand that is to gather the right resources and gather the right information. And in the corporate terminology, they say doing a SWOT analysis or a gap analysis. Please go find out where the gaps are in that society. Please go find out, understand what the SWOT analysis. Now, the SWOT analysis is basically, you're looking at what's your threat, right? What the situation is, what the actions should be taken. So you're really doing an analysis to understand where it is. When you capture that data, you bring it back and you understand as a leader with your team members saying, well, in this society, this is where the gaps are. In this society, this is where the analysis, this is who our threat, this is how we can tackle it. Then if we know that this is becoming a bigger and bigger problem, then only you would interfere in the case of a problem, right? And you're ready to interfere with the right strategy, with the right approach, right suggestion, or even in an entrepreneurial space, with the right product, right? You see a crisis happening, you see that there is a need for individuals traveling in caravan, as you said, how do we best tackle that? How can we order something on the app and everything can come together? If a caravan is leaving, let's say Africa, we need to get all the resources together to optimize and reduce the time. In times of crisis, it is important that ever to motivate and inspire others. So I think as a leader, one thing we really fail sometimes is the motivation of the team members. I talked about taking care of your team members. Yeah, you can take care of them and provide them all the goods and all the food. But if you're not motivating them to build leadership skills and leadership opportunities from among your team, then you're not doing a good job. Try to instill the sense of leadership and motivation and empowerment among your teams, among your divisions. A leader should not, a team member should not be, a team member should not feel dictatorship from the leader. Instead, they should feel camaraderie and charisma from the leader. The leader should be one that sits with the team members and they don't feel that difference in terms of similarities, in terms of roles, because we're all one. And one should promote the others so that they can do it. Interacting real leadership during such times involves several important dimensions. So one of the dimensions I'd like to really put a focus on is presence, relating. Oh, sorry, my apologies. Is it okay? Is it okay? Is it okay? Cool. Sorry about that. Can everybody hear me now? Yeah. Is better, Shannon? Okay, awesome. So I wanted to sort of touch base and get everybody's attention on our graph here, on our picture here. I'll share everything which is in the room as well. So enacting real leadership during such times involves several important dimensions. So one thing as a leader, when you're looking at it in turbulent times, is really figuring out the different dimensions that one can really put certain things in. What I mean by dimensions is that look at it as buckets. Look at it as small buckets of information, small buckets of things that you can tackle. Remember in the previous slide, I talked about staying focused. So in that time span, let's say you have an hour of being focused. What can you put in that bucket of focus that you can tackle during that 1 hour, whether it be talking to vendors, suppliers, or whatnot? So I think that's important to look at. So I'd like to sort of start from the top of presence, and I'll work my way across. In the next slide, we'll have more information about it. So for example, presence. Where is your presence? What is the presence have? Relating, sense making, action. All of this is kind of like that concentric circle around the core of what you're delivering as an entrepreneur in turbulent times, whether it be a product you're delivering, whether it's a service you're delivering to your people. That is the core. The service is the molecules are keeping it together, keeping it closed in this closed circle. Next slide. Okay, so let's just sort of dive into it deeply in what the 3, 4, 5 sort of options are, and service being the core of it. Presence. While self-awareness is said to be a key element of good leadership, presence, a leader's ability to stand in who they are and make that visible to others is far more important. You know, and I think it really comes down to that idea of campaigning who you are as a leader, self-awareness, noticing what your weaknesses are, noticing what you're strong at, noticing what you're passionate about. These are all components of self-awareness, and those are important to be to have as a leader and make that visible to others. Relating. A good leader is able to A good leader is able to relate to others, to build relationships and find out what's going on. So that idea of emotional coefficient, the idea of working with others and building that relation, that camaraderie is really important. And that's what a good leader does. Sense making. In times of crisis, a good leader is often faced with a range of varying opinions and perspectives about what is going on. She should be able to take the information, make sense of it, create a direction, and share it with others in your team, others in your community, in your society, in a way that allows everyone to understand and follow. So you should really not only make sense of the information as a leader, but you need to break it down to your people, break it down to your individuals, that this is what the situation is. This is the strategy that we have in place. This is the approach we have in place. And these are the steps 1, 2, and 3. Because human nature is able to understand things in a step-by-step manner. And also when you actually have a level of, when you break it down, saying, okay, 1 is what we're doing, 2 and 3. These are the top 3 things we're going to tackle. And this is why we're doing it. So that's all part of sense making. Excellent. Once leaders have established their presence, can relate to others and make sense of the situation, they can then take action to drive things forward. And that is all done together. With your top 3 requirements are done, you go ahead and then implement and take this action forward and move it to the next level. Service. The role of a leader is involved. The role of leader involves not only serving your organization, your startup, your society, but also being responsible for others and acting in a way that ultimately serves all your stakeholders in that situation, whether internal or external. The one thing I'd like to sort of bring up here is that this is not just confined to entrepreneurship or corporate world or startups, but also social entrepreneurship as well, right? When we're going out and doing social work, that is also a level of social entrepreneurship, that we're providing a service to our people, our neighbors, our society, our streets. And that's also important to serve them by letting all your stakeholders know in that situation, whether it be internal or external. So these are some really important sort of, I would say, 5 high-level strategies of enacting of real leadership in these turbulent times. Implementation. So now we've talked about strategies, we've talked about a real life situation, we've talked about enacting real leadership skills. How are we going to go ahead and implement this implementation? Okay. Circular vision. That's something that I like to look at it, is that when we're implementing something, look at it where you're looking at something from a really round perspective. Okay. What I mean by circular vision is that to develop a circular vision, which is about anticipating the unexpected. This is so true in a turbulent market, where the line of sight is limited and we're not able to see around the corner. So for example, if everybody looks straight right now at the camera or just straight through the room, we're just seeing circular, whoever is there, whatever is there in that notion. Okay? A circular vision helps. So where the line of sight is limited, or line of sight is limited, I cannot see what's on my left, right? I cannot see what's on my left. It's limited. And we're not able to see around the corner. So if I look straight here, I don't know what's happening here. I don't know what's happening here. Okay? A circular vision helps the leader to open for opportunities, anticipate crisis, and manage change. Both the leader and the organization need to be ready for any change. So as it comes towards you, you're able to tackle it, you're able to figure out what's going on. You're coming up with a circular vision to implement this change and tackle this crisis. Number 2, entrepreneurial spirit. This is critical. This is a critical need at a time when understanding and responding to this volatile market and internal opportunities is necessary to deliver value for the stakeholders. Effectiveness and efficiency have become the basic foundational requirements for leadership and business success. So really keeping in mind of that drive for entrepreneurs, having that taqwa, having that spirit that, you know, we will make this happen, and there is a higher up, there's a higher almighty that will help us prosper and move things along. So it's really important to understand that, especially when you're dealing with internal and external stakeholders. This is a really important drive. You cannot put entrepreneurship is not for everybody. And I have to be honest with you about that. It's a cutthroat environment, hard to manage, hard to navigate. Some people go through life with working 9-to-5 jobs, which is completely fine, and there's nothing wrong about that. But it's just not meant for everyone. And you have to accept the honest truth, and you have to accept your self-awareness as well. But I highly encourage, highly motivate, and empower people to at least give it a try once. And that way you will understand if this is for you or not. And if you fail once, you fail twice, you just tell yourself that it's not for you. You've come to the realization probably at that point that this is not really for me. You might want to come back to it in a year or two time, but have that drive, also self-awareness is important. And this will help with your implementation. Another implementation, I'd like to go into this quickly here, is embrace change and stay grounded, guys. Embracing change is there with the market that's in our hands right now, with how volatile it is, how things are happening. Embrace that change and stay grounded to your ethics, your values, your belief system. Agile and digital business skills. Becoming agile in today's yeah. So this, I'm doing this right. So agile and digital and business skills, these are important to have in today's time. You cannot run a business without being on social media. You cannot run a business nowadays without having a website. You cannot run a business without having marketing and marketing skills. So leverage your resources, talk to your people, talk to your individuals, so you can come together and work can be distributed accordingly, and people's best skill sets are utilized to make this successful. As an entrepreneur, learn to delegate, but learn to friendly delegate in an agile manner. The ability to leverage the power of new technology and digitalization, and also the ability to leverage new people is now critical in transforming organizations to become more agile, so the organizations can respond to change in this market. Constructive depolarization. Leaders to be good at bringing together people from diverse backgrounds, cultures, and achieving constructive engagement. This is indeed an important skill at a time when organizations are having multicultural, multi-issues, multi-generational workforces, and the need exists to create an inclusive environment to get the best results. But I think we need to really understand to include individuals of all ages, of all races, of all diversity, of all religions, to have that inclusive environment to get the best results. And that's called constructive depolarization. And then next we have smart mob organizing. The need for leaders to have the ability to engage social networks and organizations by leveraging technology. Technology can be such a powerful, engaging tool for bringing people and skills together, such as utilizing your mobile phone, utilizing your mobile apps, web chats, anonymous polls. This all is a smart way of gathering data and gathering resources to help implement the product service. Bioempathy. The need for leaders to have the ability to look at things from nature's perspective. If nature is saying that this is the route to go, and you are coming in and changing how nature is dictating that or prescribing it, then you're not empathetic to what nature has to say. So to visualize how the world would be different if all the leaders had bioempathy. And that's a really important way of looking at it, is that not everything will not be how we want it to be. Nature and God has its own ways of really understanding if this is how it is, and adapting to that and being empathetic to that is important as a leader. And so bioempathy organization would be more planet friendly and strive to ensure that they impact the society positively. Out-centric. Gary Morgan, in his article in Fast Company, writes about the needs for leaders to shift from being egocentric to out-centric. Leaders should be more focused on the people around them and focus on developing them, understanding the self-actualization needs of the people in their teams and helping them achieve those needs. So that's important to understand that we have to be leaders that shift from becoming really ego-focused to out-centered. Leaders should be able to focus on people's needs around them and focus on developing them and understanding them. And self-actualization once for them as well, and to help give them back more. Lastly, for the implementation side, there's something called the ROWE Focus, ROWE Focus. So Gary Morgan also is a prominent business owner. It refers to the need for leaders to focus on ROWE. What ROWE really is, results only work environment, right? The shift is to focus more on the results and output than anything else, right? So results only work environment. Focus on the results, focus on the work environment. The shift is only on that and output than on anything else, right? So this is some of the other implementations that I like to sort of bring up. I'd like to sort of conclude here at this final stage here by having a quick retrospective. You know what essentially what a retrospective is a place where we can just come together, ask questions, discuss, talk about some solutions and suggestions. And if there's anything that I could take away from here is to say that entrepreneurship is a hard, tough journey. It's not for everybody, and you have to be honest about it. That's part of the self-actualization, self-realization, but it is a fruitful, positive, and rewarding opportunity once you're in it for the right reasons, for the right time, and never sacrificing your core ethics, your core values, your core beliefs. I'd like to end here. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, but I'll have this here available as our last discussion point, retrospective. High level, a retrospective is used in the agile terminology to just kind of look through what we did right, what we did wrong, and how can we help move things forward. Further, I'd love to get feedback from our audience and participants as well. No one is perfect. I'm not perfect. Please let me know. And if there's any shortcomings that I have come up, that you've witnessed or you've come across, please forgive me. I'm going to pass it on to Shadway.
Yeah. So I think one question was while you were talking about your app, there was a question if you were still looking for the manpower for your app, and does your app has any presence in India?
Actually, right now the app does not have any presence in India, but you know that concept and that model could be utilized for many other reasons or many other purposes here as well. You know, getting permission from that society organization should not be a problem and will not be a problem if it's facilitated in the right manner. If it's a similar concept, similar idea. One thing I thought of was and take this idea and run with it is to help people who are, let's say, who are suffering from other diseases, or females who are pregnant who need to go use a facility or bathroom. How do we help that? So you know, there could be a lot of other spin-offs that come from this idea, but you know, I don't hold the rights to it. The organization holds the right to it. Now, to answer your first question in terms of resources, I'm always looking at resources for next and upcoming projects. This project, alhamdulillah, has been completed. It has been submitted in the hands of the client, so we will not be needing any resources for this current one. And there's always need. Sure.
The Sheikh Nadir, he did mention that your app is going to be helpful for getting the data who are looking for job between the age group 18 to 40 years, right? So that's what you was mentioning. So your app will result good for unemployed youth around us.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there is definitely a need for helping leverage that concept of geolocating where you are and finding out who is hiring in the next 5 to 10 kilometers. So I think for unemployed youth or youth that are looking for work, who can quickly spot who's hiring could be an option as well. Definitely happy to shout out.
So the issues which you have spoken about, right? Gastro disease. So the question is, any research has been done about the disease in India as well?
Absolutely, there's tons of resources and content. There's a big gastroenterology hospital here in Hyderabad too. Lots of research has been done in it. It's recognized around the world. There's many scholars about it. So yes, to answer your question, lots of research in Indian population, Indian patients as well, have also been done. And to also look at how do we research has been done to how do we also tackle it has also been done here in India as well. Absolutely, I would be happy to do that.
I said we have already sharing such requirements earlier also. We could map those requirements to the people who are looking out for the job here. And even I think during the pandemic, few of the brothers who lost their jobs, so we had some requirements where Brother Zakariyya could use them. So I think it's a good contact for us in Canada. So he has a personal touch with his country as well. So whatever requirements he is getting, so I think the preference for India will also be there.
100%, 100%.
Inshallah.
Absolutely, inshallah. And I'm moving forward. I do have to testify to that is that the resources I got from Sahibhai and his contacts are still working with me, and we are still moving on to more and more and new projects. So that's all the number one blessings from God Almighty and giving us the opportunity to work together. And from that, we're looking forward to meeting new people and connecting them. So yeah, I'll always keep you guys posted.
The app which Zakariyya has already spoken. So if it is not there, we can explore here for Indian market as well. So somebody can pick up, or he can extend that application to the India need as well. We have similar such apps developed by many other brothers as well, like where is the nearest parking? To have a entrepreneurship goal and journey, and then we are mentally prepared for tackling all the challenges whatever has been mentioned here. So I think a lot of input has been already shared by Zakariyya here, and how the leader should be and how we should tackle all the turbulent times. So they need their email ID as well. So, and also it is said there are many participants who may want to partner with you for future projects as well. So we can come up with a lot of opportunities. If anything we think of, so I think we can take it further.
You, Jani, have mentioned that you are looking for the manpower resources like developers and mobile app developers. Like that. So, what was the qualities you were?
So one of the brothers asked is that what were the requirements? Oh yeah, what were the qualities you were looking for in an individual when I was hiring for these developer roles, correct?
In your mind that you have to choose the best.
Yes, correct, exactly. Yeah. So one of the brothers has asked us is what were the qualities I was looking for in hiring that team member. As a result, as I said earlier, that we're looking for somebody who was the best. Well, in order to really narrow down when you're looking for the best candidate, is the qualities of adaptability, the qualities of a good team worker, the qualities of being comfortable with ambiguity, the qualities of being comfortable working with strangers, the qualities of working in a stressful environment were certain things I was looking for. And I was also looking for somebody who was able to tackle this together as a team, not as a team, not as somebody who is under the leader. So those are certain things that I was looking for, and even though we were able to find people that resonated to those qualities. And I think being honest about what quality you're looking for in the beginning really helps you narrow down and break down what you want as an individual, right? And that's important to know, because if you don't know what you want, then you will not know what your company wants, and you will not know what your customer wants. It's really important to know what you want. I said to you, I don't get that kind of requirements because I'm mostly focused heavily within infrastructure, IT development, computer science development. That's where my passion is. That's where my focus is. But that doesn't mean I would not be looking for others. That doesn't mean if I hear of anybody else, I will not let them know. I will keep you posted.
You think that you in Excel for
Sure.
other tasks. So do you have any templates from Excel which we can use in our routines?
So one of the brothers asking is for managing and prioritizing my tasks, I use Excel a lot. Do I have any templates that I can share? I personally don't have templates. One thing I really like about Excel is to make the template from the beginning, make the template from the get-go, right? And then I once I know what I need, what my data is, what my keys are, I have a good idea of what I'm putting in Excel, right? And then that will help me move the needle forward once I have that structure together in Excel. But yeah, I can always check through my records and my books to see if I have a template of them. I'll have to share with you. But be flexible in really making that template as well. You don't have to make that exactly. You can always make something similar, but also make sure it addresses your pain point, addresses your needs. Any other further questions, comments? I'm happy to take any questions. I'll leave my email address and number. Sure, I'll leave it with. I'll also type it here. Please feel free to reach out to me via email or LinkedIn. Inshallah, this was of benefit and value, and Allah and
App name.
for things go here. Yeah, go here. Actually, it's called Go Here. There you go. I also put down the name of the foundation. And from that being said, that if you have any questions, please reach out, and I'm passing it back to you. Take care, everyone.
Okay. I think it was a fantastic session. Thanks, Zakariyya, to take out time from his personal time in this visit. You're giving us a beautiful session here, especially on the entrepreneurship. Thanks for sharing your personal journey. Just coming out freshly from the graduate and exploring things, coming up with your own application and reaching out to the entire country. It's a very amazing journey. And then at the young age, you could achieve that. And Alhamdulillah, a lot of other areas you explored. So that means got a very diverse experience wherein you can help others as well to mentor. So maybe you can talk about your mentorship journey for the as well, so that others can get.
I'm happy to connect with anyone who requires help in terms of mentoring or coaching, whether they're starting an idea or brainstorming an idea. And I'm happy to speak with anybody, especially for parents. I've had experience in coaching as well. I've had experience in coaching. I've had experience in coaching people of all ages, of all varieties, from young entrepreneurs who are starting up to seasoned entrepreneurs who are almost exiting their startup, being sold. What strategies you utilize that, and also helping people in between the startup phase. So you have your startup phase, you have the middle phase, and then you have the exit phase. That's basically not a startup phase. So I've helped in all those sections and also coach people at all walks of life. Happy to be part of it and happy to help in.
Yeah, I think so. MFID presence is there in Canada as well. So since you got a lot of reach to the people across globe, and I have experience with you attending one management webinars as well, right? Series of webinars from some expert who was management group. So I think you can bring those expertise also to the forum. So in the Middle East, in the African region, American region. So all those expertise you can just share with us. We can find out the right slot for them so that the people in India here can also get benefited. Okay. So a lot of responsibility you are taking from here now. So you are responsible to bring us the right expertise to the forum, inshallah.
I will.
And even for the opportunities abroad, right? So if you come across any such opportunities, the sponsorships and all, so maybe you can bring those like opportunities here, and and people who are migrating to the Canada, or going there for their further studies, maybe we can have you as a point of contact where you can be helping there locally to make them feel comfortable. Alhamdulillah. So it's a great opportunity for us to have Zakariyya Bhai here. So I think we'll be having a good relationship further as well to make use of your presence there through the larger crowd. Okay. So the recording is going to be there in a couple of days in tinyurl.com/MFID, and inshallah. So if you have any expertise, the people who are participating today, so if you want to share your expertise, you can reach out to us. We can find a slot for you as well. And if you know the expertise in your circle, you can bring those expertise also to the forum. So a lot of need is there. If we can collaborate well, then a lot of things can be done. Jazakallahu khairan kaseera wa ahsan jazak. Thanks for taking out this time. Okay, so if nothing is there, we can close. I think we have Chan Bhai here, who was a person where he has worked with Zakariyya Bhai during the pandemic. MashaAllah. Jazakallah for and still working, MashaAllah. So Chand is still available. So Chand, Chand is available, right? MashaAllah. Wherever Chand is there, so we'll feel comfortable.
Yeah. It's been really nice working with Zach Bhai. And it's Shahid Bhai has been introduced Zach Bhai. And since 2 years, I've been working with Zach. And Canada projects, 2 of the projects we have completed with successfully. And one of the projects is still in going to live soon, inshallah. It's really nice working with Zach here.
Jazakallah. Okay, if nothing is there, we can close here. Jazakallah khairan.